Now we see new reality that Putin's regime is weak, inactive and unable to external and internal threats. How the Kursk invasion changes the course of the Ukrainian-Russian war. We will discuss right now. And I'm Iryna Uzlova. With us is Oleksandr Musienko, military expert and head of the Center for Military Legal Studies. Oleksandr, congratulations. Thank you for joining.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. This morning, our President Vladimir Zelensky, and today we have August 17, discussed our invasion in the Kursk region with our Oleksandr Syrskyi, Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and Syrskyi reported to Zelensky on strengthening of our positions of our forces in the Kursk region and expanding the stabilized territory. So, since the beginning of our operation in the Kursk region, Ukrainian troops have advanced more than 35 kilometers along the Russian army's defense and controlled over than 1,150 square kilometers of territory, Syrskyi said earlier, a few days ago. The second week of the Kursk operation, Kursk incursion, continues. Why is Putin's response to the Kursk incursion still so weak? We don't see any reaction, telling the truth. And is the Kremlin maybe preparing some kind of unexpected response or retaliation?
Well, you know, that's hard to understand. That in modern world, in the 21st century, we can see situation like this. Why? Because if we will observe the situation, we can see that for Putin right now, it looks like for Putin's. His neo-empire and his empire war, because of his ambitious and his illegal war against Ukraine, more important than his own territory. For Russian army and for Russians right now, more important to kill Ukrainian civilians, to destroy our infrastructure, our buildings, and to destroy everything. And now they continue to do this in Donetsk region, near Pokrovsk, near Turets, and so on. And so now we can see that for Russians and for Putin personally, most important to continue a war and most important to have his own army, his soldiers, on the territory of neighboring country in his illegal aggression, more than protecting his own country and his own civilians. Just imagine this. It's not normal situation, because that's crazy for people who are listening to this, because when we are talking that, look, every country, every president of the country has a duty to protect his own country, his own territories, his people.
Democracy country, Alexander.
Yes, democracy. But even dictatorship countries, Putin didn't this. So now what he tries to do, he tries to continue his offensive operation in Donbas, in Donetsk region. Why? Because he thinks that Ukrainian armed forces will think that we need to move back and we need to move our reserves from Kursk region to Donbas region. He really thinks, and he continues his psychological operation, his psychological war, psychological warfare against Ukraine and against Ukrainians. Why he tries to show that, look, nevertheless, however, I will continue my offensive operation in Donbas region, and I will forget about Kursk, I will forget about protection of my own territory, and you need to replace and you need to move your forces to the Donetsk region. So, but I think that now what we can see in Kursk region, when Ukrainian armed forces destroyed the bridge through Seim River, and now when almost 1,000 troops, Russian troops, are encirclement by Ukrainian armed forces, and we can see how much Ukrainian army taken prisoners of war Russians. So I think, and controlling more and more territory, I think, however, that's a question of time. when Putin will be moved more his own forces from his army to Kursk region from Donbass region. I suppose like this. But now he tries to show that, look, for me, like Putin, personally really important continue offensive operation in Donetsk region, and I even will be forgot about my own country, about Kursk region. So that's crazy to think, but that's true how Putin's thinking. So that's why we need to understand, and people around the world need to understand that we need to stop Putin. Because, look, what he tries to do, he tries to back all the world to, especially Europe, to the 19th century. Europe of allies, Europe of empires, Europe of wars. But we cannot live in Europe like previously used to be. We are living in 21st century. We are living according to democracy values, at least in Ukraine and European Union and so on. And we need to live according to the rule of law. So that's very important to understand. That's the time right now to support Ukraine. And the best investment to democracy, to European security, to the Western security and defense, is to support Ukraine with additional supplying of weapons, ammunition, and so on. Because that's right now the main issue, because this is the battle for the future and the battle for the past. For the future, Ukraine and Western countries, civilized countries, and Putin with his allies like North Korea, like Kim, like Iran, and so on, they are for the past. So we need to stop this, zombie from the past, because otherwise some zombie apocalypses will be.
Exactly. So, according to the Wall Street Journal, nowadays Putin has already withdrawn near 5,000 of their soldiers from our battlefield to the Kursk region. But correct me if I'm wrong, but you are saying that it is only a question of time when Putin will have to move another number of their occupation forces from our region. The same opinion I heard from our military experts Ivan Timochko, Piotr Chernik. They say that we need only wait for a few maybe weeks, maybe months, but it's really a question of time. What time, to your opinion, and what number of these forces? Wall Street Journal writes that near 20,000 soldiers Putin needs to stop and counterattack our forces in Kursk region. What is your opinion about it? How much?
Well, you know that I think, first of all, Russians do not have any reserves, any well-prepared reserves on their territory. So that's why they do not have so much power to continue defend their territories on Kursk region. But that's very important to understand. So if they want to stop Ukrainian offensive operations, if they want to stop Ukrainian counterattacks, they need to move more forces, well-prepared forces. I mean forces not just from the conscripts Russians, from different regions, 18 years old, but well-prepared soldiers. And where they can get them? First, they can get them from a Russian army, from somewhere Voronezh, Nizhny Novgorod, or St. Petersburg, if they have them there, but they do not. So, because they are involved, almost all of them involved to the battles in Donetsk region right now, because they continue their offensive operations there, near Pokrovsk and Toretsk, for example. So, where they can get them? They moved some soldiers and some their forces from southern part of Ukraine, occupied part of Ukraine, Zaporizhia and Kherson region. But they need more, because they do not have enough right now. Because look, there are in encirclement almost 1,000 troops right now. And so they are without logistic lines, they are without support. Russians can't help them because they're on the opposite side of the bank, river bank. and bridges are destroyed, demolished. So how they can help? So that's example that shows they need a lot of forces there. So where they will get them? Of course, only in the eastern part of Ukraine, from the occupied part of Donetsk and Lugansk region. So that's the issue of time. And I think that they will move these forces. But of course, we can see some risks, because if Putin will be ready to lose his own territory in Kursk region, so this process could be not so fast as we predicted, for example. But I think that, and now Putin tries to continue his offensive actions and his advance on Donetsk region, because he wants to show that he will continue this, and Ukrainians need to move their forces. So we are like in competitions right now. Because this is like a competition. Who will be, who will stop first? Who will think that, look, I need to stop first and I need to move forces? Because now we're in competition. It means like, looks, Putin wants to move our forces back to the Donetsk region from Kursk region. And we also want that Putin moved his forces to Kursk region. So I think that now this is a competition. We will see, but however, I think that during this period, Ukrainian Armed Forces will be continue attacks and will be continue advance and defensive operation in Kursk region. I think so, because if they will stop, I think that Putin will try to get more time, more and more, and he will continue attacks and trying to destroy Pokrovsk, other cities in Donetsk region. So I think until Ukrainian Armed Forces have a power, have weapons, have everything, and have a high moral, very important right now, because Ukrainian army have a really high moral right now. Because why? Because of successful actions and successful operation in Kursk region. And Russians looks more like demoralized. So this is for us, for Ukrainians. So I think that this operation will continue, Ukrainian, till we have resources, till we have power, till we have army there, until we can continue. And now we can see that Ukraine trying always to do more and more. Because now we can see that Ukrainian aviation, Ukrainian military jets using American-produced guided bombs, JDAM, yes, against infrastructure objects, against bridge through the river, and so on. So I think that we will continue. And with pressure, because otherwise Putin will do nothing. He will not move his forces from Donbass.
I'm sure that we will continue without any doubts, but I don't understand why I have to read next information. The United States is effectively blocking Ukraine's use of British Storm Shadow missiles for strikes against that Russian war objects against Russian territory due to President Joe Biden concerns about escalation again and again. This escalation, this fear. Boris Johnson, our good friend and ex-chief of British government, wrote the article in Daily Mail and said that enough, that this Kursk invasion demonstrates nowadays that all our allies don't have to be afraid of Putin's regime and escalation and nuclear response and this different nuclear empty words from Putin. So why the United States or Great Britain or even France are afraid to get us permission to use Storm Shadows, ATAK-MS and Syrskyi against Russia deeper in their territory, against airfields, against different locations of their forces and so on? Why?
Well, we need to understand and to say honestly and to be clear that, look, if you are not supported right now attacks and launching different types of missile missiles such as ballistic ATACMS, cruise missiles, Storm Shadow, and so on, against Russians' military objects on their own territory. So you are not supporting Ukrainian offensive in Kursk region. That's really clear, and that is honestly why.
What?
Because look, if we are reading CNN, yes, sources from CNN, that CNN reported that look, Ukraine needs to use ATACMS missiles against military objects on Crimean Peninsula, occupied Crimea. So yes, okay, I agree. But if we are looking right now on the situation in Kursk, if we just to be on the place, on the position of commander-in-chief. Just imagine you are commander-in-chief or you are general staff.
Yeah.
And you need to decide how and what types of weapons you need to use and in what moment and why. So you are compare. You have Crimea. Okay, that's very important to strikes and to launch attacks against Crimea. But let's say honestly, we do not provide right now any offensive operation on the ground to Crimea, and we do not see Russian offensive operation on the southern part of Ukraine. So probably, if we will use these ATACMS missiles not for targets on occupied Crimea but in Kursk region, it will be better. Why? Because Ukrainian Armed Forces continue successful offensive operations there. So we need to use weapons there. We need to use missiles there. Why? Because we will destroy Russians' back forces. We will destroy their logistics. And that will help for Ukrainian army continue moving. And then Russians need to react. And how they will react? They will move their forces from Donetsk region to Kursk region.
Yes,
that's very simple. Very simple to understand. So if the main actions, and right now I think that's very important to support Ukrainian offensive in Kursk regions. So if we are talking about Kursk region, we need to support, and now we can see that Ukrainian aviation could work there because they are using guided bombs, JDAM, as I said previously. So they also can use Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Or they can use French-produced Scalp or American-produced ATACMS. So, and that means that, so that's why I'm trying to explain. If you are for Ukrainian offensive operation, and if you support this, so you need to allow for Ukrainian armed forces to use these weapons and to protect Ukrainians and to protect Ukrainian country, Ukrainian civilians, according to the UN Charter and according to the rule of self-defense. So that's why, and if we looking on this operation like the operation which can change everything on our front line, on our current period, and this could make for Ukrainians to keep initiative on the front lines. That's very important. So this is the real time to support, and Ukraine needs to have opportunity to use these weapons, these missiles, because if we are saying that look, we need to attack Crimea now, but not Kursk region, I do not have any argumentations. Because if we are saying that, look, we need more to use them against Kursk, I explained why. So if they do not allow, so these Western partners and Western countries, they not support our offensive operations there. And second, I don't want to say this, but it looks like someone really still afraid Putin. Yes, because why? In this situation, Ukrainian armed forces, Ukraine, destroyed another one red line. Because Ukrainian army right now on the Russian territory, what's happening?
Nothing.
And Putin tries to show that it's not so dangerous, everything fine. He looks to be like a calm, like confident and so on. but situation really bad for him. And if Western partners want to be and want to, be really close to the history of success, Ukrainian success, be the part, very important, be a part of this success. They could make a really good and wise move in this situation. Allow Ukrainian Armed Forces use ballistic missiles or cruise missiles produced by Britain, United States, or France.
So we understand, in other words, that somebody is still afraid, but nuclear escalation, is it empty words now, or maybe no? Maybe this is the main reason of this fear.
Well, paper tiger, as one Chinese well-known and famous politician stated once. But because, look, Putin didn't do the step, and now he lost a time, a moment. Because, and so he looks like weakened. And so that's why I think that's not an argument more. And now we can see that, look, what Ukrainian Armed Forces did for this moment. They attack and strike against oil refineries. They attack some radar stations, very important on Russian territory. Attacked airfields, attacked a lot of military objects, a lot of plants which are producing equipments, military of Russian defense industry, and so on and so on. Attacked Crimean Peninsula, occupied Crimea, and so on. And just remember what former Russian President Medvedev told about this. He told that, look, we will launch nuclear attack with the nuclear weapons against Ukraine and so on. We will use tactical weapons, nuclear weapons. Nothing happened. So we can see that right now Russia really weakened. And you know that I do not remember the moment when they've been they've been weakened like this. So I think that now that's really important to understand that Ukraine continue to destroy myths, and nuclear escalation, it looks like another one myth right now. So I think that if this myth been destroyed, so why we need to be afraid? We need to allow. So that's why the point of escalation do not have more I don't know, confirmation and argumentation.
Yes, arguments are fully empty. Oleksandr, maybe will our allies give us permission to strike and attack Russian war objects on their territory, not in publicity, but in fact?
Well, I'm not sure that this is an option, because, and this could work, and this on the table, because look, however, this will be in the media and in the press, and this will be, and we will know about this. So I think that, of course, till some moment, for first 2-3 attacks, it could be, you know, non-public. But then all media will write about this, and all sources will be speaking about this. Why? Because Russians will tell about this first. They will say, look, American weapons here on Russian territory, attack MS. They will find the parts of these missiles, and they will show this. So we cannot do this. Okay, this decision could be non-public, but after first attack, I think that first, second attack, everyone will know about this.
Okay, so we will support that our allies will be more confident and will make everything what depends on them to destroy Putin's regime and so on. We can guarantee that we will use these ATACMS missiles and so on effective and only against warfare objects on Russian territory. Only war targets are important for us, not civilian, not targets which are important for Russia Federation. It's a big difference between us during all this war, during all more than 10 years of Ukrainian-Russian war. So let's talk about problems among the Russian command, and we see that there are a lot of such problems here, and different Russian military bloggers, they cry, they are angry, they say that they don't understand how they can ask during third year of full-scale war why it is so, because the Russian we attack Russian columns and the Russia command, in the spirit of the Soviet style, continues to redeploy forces with columns. 2 columns we destroyed and attacked during 1 week near Syrskyi and near some other settlements in Kursk region. 2 bridges which we destroyed too, and they were without any defense like we understand now. So which are the problems, and what problems does the Russian army have, and why they use so outdated and so a normal approach to management, if it is good for us?
Yes, of course, because if we are saying about problems and the commanding style of our enemies, or about any other problems, that's very important for us, because that's for us. And you know, that's really good that Russians have a high level of corruption in their own army, and not only army, but also in army. So that means, and also disorganization. Also, like sometimes when we can see how Russians proceed some decisions in the part of army, defense or attacks operation, so it looks like chaos, really chaos. And I've noticed, because of this operation, because of this offensive operation in Kursk region, that if continue pressure, and if Ukrainian army have a lot of power, have a lot of possibilities to do something, they will use them, and Russians can do anything. They looks like paralyzed. And now what we can see, this organization in the common structures. There was organization in the general staff of Russian army, on the some staffs in Kursk region, on the some operative parts, and so on. So that's very important to understand. And also, what I can say is that Russians too much self-confident. And they think then, you know, they live in myths of propaganda, also their own. They are really strong, they have more soldiers, they have more people, they will have more weapons, so they will win in any case. But we do not see right now. So imagine, if you are general of Russian army, you are thinking that, look, I have a lot of tanks, thousands tanks. I have a lot of planes, more than 1,000 planes. I have a lot of missiles. I have a lot of soldiers, which I will continue mobilize till I have some Russians. And so in these myths, people studying in academies, in universities, they are living with this in their minds. And they are sitting somewhere in the stuffs and they think, look, how it could happen? Let's move more people there. Okay, we moved more battalions there, more brigades, and nothing happened. Why? We are more powerful, but we do not see this on the battlefield. So that means that Ukrainians destroyed another one myth about Russian you know that Russians will win all the time. And if they have a lot of tanks or a lot of planes, they will win. No, that's not enough. Because you need to be smarter and you need to think how to use this. And if you will be more efficient, if you will use more properly your artillery, your drones, your soldiers, and if you will planning your operations better. So you need to study this and you need to understand and to make the work about your mistakes. So Russians doesn't do this. So that's the problem for them. And also corruption and disorganization in the staffs. And Kursk region shows this for us.
Because battlefield, it is not about books and papers like Russian very much. If I get you right, Putin is unable, and his commanders and his regimes and so on, they are unable to protect either their borders, either or their army or their population. How much does the Kursk offensive undermine this regime from within?
Look, I think that, of course, it's very important to understand that when we can see the first appearance of Putin on his Council of Defense and Security, he was looking like really like in panic, like, chaotic, his movements, his decisions. Yes, so I think that shows that he wasn't really confident as he wanted to be, or as he wants to show. So that means that Ukraine find, a very, very painful places how to beat Russians and how to beat Putin. So that's really very good. And now about the reaction and about the people. I think that, of course, Russians, they're afraid the reaction of people. They're afraid of the demoralized. And they try to cut off everything what we've been talking about Kursk region, about the situation there, about how they didn't evacuate people from villages, small towns and cities in Kursk region, how they didn't help them, how they didn't just moved back very fast, Russian army, and didn't protect civilians and didn't think about Russian civilians. So, of course, they're afraid because of the level of demoralization. And I think that that looks like a lot of people, even in Russia, and probably from Russian allies, they also see this. And they can also notice everything. And, of course, they just try to find this moment, try to see when this moment will be. And they will use all of this against Putin in one day. Of course, they will remember everything what's happening. So of course, now what we can see, I think that's a really good chance for Russian opposition, because they can also move to Sudzha, to Kursk region, to be with people there.
Yes,
from
but
my
where
point
are they?
of view,
Where are they?
with locals, Putin, with local citizens there. They try to explain something. They try to show an example and to say that, look, that's because of Putin's war against Ukraine, and this war came to you, to Kursk region, to Russia, because Putin has begun this war against Ukraine. And he made a strategic level mistake because of this attack against Ukraine. So I think that, of course, he will he look weakened right now. Putin tries to show confidence. He wearing a mask on his face, but that doesn't mean that he is strong and powerful right now.
But we don't see Russia position there. We see they in different YouTube channels and so on. But maybe this is really a chance for them. But they can lose this chance if they don't want to do anything. So, but it's their responsibility to. We can only remind them about this good chance for them. You mentioned, Oleksandr, about Crimea, and our last topic in this interview will be about this our, not Russian peninsula. The Crimea Peninsula, temporarily occupied by Russia, was subjected to one of the most massive attacks on the night of August 16. I mean that there were explosions in different areas among Crimean territory. So why it is really massive? Not because of the number of missiles and drones, but it was rather big for Russia too, because Russian Defense Ministry wrote that more than 10 ATACMS attacked a Crimean bridge, non-legal construction in our Black Sea. So can we say that it is again the one of the parts of the tactics of the Ukrainian command to deoccupy our Crimean Peninsula, and how vulnerable is Crimea nowadays really?
Well, I think that of course we can see one of the step and one of the strategic movement of Ukrainian Armed Forces for liberation of Crimea and military operation which we are continuing and we can see right now. What does it mean? It means that Ukrainians and Ukrainian Armed Forces are doing some steps, and we have some levels of this operation. On the first step, of course, and on the first level, that means that Ukrainian Armed Forces had been trying to do everything just to destroy Russian air defense systems on the occupied peninsula. So Ukrainian Armed Forces destroyed a lot of different types of Russian air defense systems like S-400, S-300, Buk, Panzer, and so on. Also, Ukrainian Armed Forces been destroyed a lot of different types of radars with and the sources of electronic warfare with different types of range. So from few hundred kilometers to dozens kilometers. So that's also very important. So, and the second point, what we can see right now, what Ukrainian Armed Forces is trying to do now, to destroy logistics lines, to cut off occupies army of the Russian occupies in Crimea from logistic lines, from supplying ammunitions, weapons, everything, equipments, what they need in Crimea. So during this period, we can see some attacks against ships, against also, I suppose, that we will see also in the nearest future, I hope, attack against Crimean Bridge, and so on. So the second part of this operation, what we can notice and we can observe right now, that's trying to cut off from logistic lines army of the occupiers. And then they will have a huge problem there, because Crimea will be in isolation for Russians. So they will have, so then probably we will see the next steps and levels of this operation.
Agree, and I hope the same. And we see that a lot of problems Putin has now, and the number of these problems only become bigger and bigger, because he started his cruel war against us, and this is his responsibility. Oleksandr, thank you very much for today's conversation. Thank you for your work position and analyze. See you next week, I hope.
Thank you. See you.
Goodbye. And thank you for all our viewers for your action and for viewing our interview. I mentioned that our guest is Oleksandr Musienko, a military expert and head of the Center of Military Legal Studies. My name is Iryna Uzlova. Thank you, guys. See you later.